Hello and welcome to this video. Today we'll be talking about ISO 14025, environmental labels and declarations, Type 3 environmental declarations, principles, and procedures. Have you ever heard about environmental labeling? Environmental labels are marks that indicate how products or services contribute to reducing environmental impact. Environmental labels provide information about a product or service in terms of its overall environmental benefits, such as the recyclability of its packaging or the absence of noxious ingredients. But why is it important for the environment? Well, environmental labeling is not just a label. The significance of eco-labeling lies in its broad impact on environmental sustainability and increasing consumer awareness. For example, it strengthens environmental consciousness by informing consumers the detailed ecological effects of products and services, which can promote the adoption of informed and environmentally conscious decision-making. Eco-labeling incentivizes producers to embrace more environmentally friendly production processes, which include reducing resource usage, increasing energy efficiency, and minimizing waste, contributing to the achievement of sustainable development goals. Eco-labeling can also contribute to diminishing environmental impacts of products and services. This includes benefits from reducing the carbon footprint and conserving natural resources. Not only companies, consumers can also benefit from these labels. First is through identification of sustainable products. The labels and certifications serve as a quick and easy way for consumers to identify sustainable products. These labels often include recognizable symbols or logos, making it easier for consumers to navigate through the vast array of products available in the market and choose those that meet their sustainability criteria. Second is assurance of environmental and social standards. By choosing certified products, consumers can be confident that their purchases align with their values and contribute to positive social and environmental outcomes. Third is through transparency and trust. Eco-labels and certifications provide consumers with transparent and reliable information about the sustainability credentials of a product. Displaying these labels, companies demonstrate their commitment to environmental and social responsibility, building trust with consumers who prioritize sustainability. With increasing consumer concern about the environmental impact of the goods and services they buy, environmental labeling has emerged as a key tool for making sustainable purchasing decisions. This is where ISO international standards play a fundamental role, and one of it is ISO 14025. ISO 14025 is an international standard that defines procedures and establishes the principles for preparing Type 3 environmental declaration and Type 3 environmental declaration programs by referencing ISO 14040 or LCA, which helps calculate a product's life cycle and other quantitative assessments needed for organizations to create their environmental declarations. Before we move on, please remember that in the practice of developing Type 3 environmental declarations, programs or their declarations are referred to by various names such as Eco-Leaf, Eco-Profile, Environmental Declaration of Product, Environmental Product Declaration or EPD, and Environmental Profile. So, please understand when the terms are used interchangeably. I have repeatedly mentioned Type 3, but what is it actually? Well, Type 3 Environmental Declaration Program is a voluntary program for the development and use of Type 3 environmental declarations, based on a set of operating rules. Meanwhile, Type 3 Environmental Declaration provides quantified environmental data using predetermined parameters and, where relevant, additional environmental information. The main features of Type 3 EPD include a description of a product and the manufacturer, the information from the company, the life cycle assessment practitioner, verifier, program operator, and certification body, and also the environmental performance of a product over the included life cycle stages based on the product LCA. The objectives of this Type 3 EPD are as follows. to provide LCA-based information and additional information on the environmental aspects of products, to assist purchasers and users to make informed comparisons between products, to encourage improvement of environmental performance, and to provide information for assessing the environmental impacts of products over their life cycle. What are other kinds of environmental labels do ISO standards cover? There are generally three types: Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3. First, ISO 14024 outlines the requirements for developing Type 1 environmental labeling programs. Type 1 environmental labeling is for eco-labeling schemes where there are clearly defined criteria for products. The second is ISO 14021, Environmental Labels and Declarations. Self-declared environmental claims contains the requirements for Type 2 environmental labeling, the self-declared. Type 2 self-declared environmental claim is for products and services where there are neither criteria nor labeling schemes. Lastly is the ISO 14025. It provides the requirements for developing Type 3 environmental label, which is the environmental declaration. Type 3 environmental declarations contains quantitative indicators of environmental performance based on LCA for objective comparisons between products fulfilling the same function. The Type 3 EPD is important because it is an independent summary that outlines the environmental impact of a specific product across its entire life cycle, because it provides detailed information on the utilization of resources, emissions of greenhouse gases and other pollutants, waste production, and other ecological consequences during the product's lifespan, and also because it assists manufacturers in maximizing the efficiency of their products and publicizing their carbon footprint. Subsequently, it facilitates carbon emission reduction by enabling the comparison of the environmental consequences of various products. ISO 14025 operates on some basic key principles. First is the relationship with ISO 14020. In addition to the requirements in this international standard, the principles set out in ISO 14020 shall apply. Where the standard provides for more specific requirements than ISO 14020, such specific requirements shall apply. Second is voluntary nature. The development and operation of Type 3 environmental declaration programs and the development and use of Type 3 environmental declarations are voluntary. This international standard provides requirements for an organization choosing to develop and operate such a program or to develop and use such declarations. Third is life cycle basis. In the development of Type 3 environmental declarations, all relevant environmental aspects of the product throughout its life cycle shall be taken into consideration and become part of the declaration. If the aspects considered to be relevant do not cover all stages of the life cycle, then this shall be stated and justified. Relevant environmental aspects that have not been covered by LCA shall be addressed using other appropriate methods. Fourth is modularity. LCA-based data for materials, parts, and other inputs that are used in the manufacture or assembly of other products may be used to contribute to Type 3 environmental declarations for those other products. In such circumstances, the LCA-based data for the materials, parts, and other inputs shall be referred to as information modules and may represent the whole or a portion of the life cycle for those materials or parts. An information module may be, but does not have to be, a Type 3 environmental declaration. The fifth principle is the involvement of interested parties. The process of developing environmental labels and declarations should include an open, participatory consultation with interested parties. Reasonable efforts should be made to achieve a consensus throughout the process. The interested parties for Type 3 environmental declaration programs may include, but are not limited to, material suppliers, manufacturers, trade associations, purchasers, users, consumers, NGOs, public agencies. The sixth principle is comparability. Type 3 environmental declarations are intended to allow a purchaser or user to compare the environmental performance of products on a life cycle basis. Therefore, comparability of Type 3 environmental declaration is critical. The information provided for this comparison shall be transparent in order to allow the purchaser or user to understand the limitations of comparability inherent in the Type 3 environmental declarations. Seventh is verification. To ensure that a Type 3 environmental declaration contains relevant and verifiable LCA information based on the ISO 14040 series of standards, the program operator shall establish transparent procedures for PCR review, including review of the LCA, LCI information modules, and additional environmental information on which the PCR are based, independent verification of the LCA, LCI information modules, and additional environmental information on which the declaration is based, and independent verification of the Type 3 environmental declaration. The eighth principle is flexibility. For Type 3 environmental declarations to be successful in improving environmental understanding of products, it is important that these declarations maintain their technical credibility while providing flexibility, practicality, and cost-effectiveness of application. This international standard allows a range of different types of bodies to operate a Type 3 environmental declaration program, use of relevant stages of the life cycle provided necessary information if supplied, and provision of additional environmental information. Lastly, ninth, transparency. To ensure that a Type 3 environmental declaration can be understood and correctly interpreted by any person interested in the information, the program operator shall ensure the availability of general program instructions, a list of all published PCR documents within the program, PCR documents, and explanatory material as specified in this international standard. Based on ISO 14025, how to develop a Type 3 environmental declaration. The quantified environmental information in a Type 3 environmental declaration shall be based on the results from one or more life cycle assessments in accordance with the ISO 14040 series of standards, or if used, information modules. There are two methodological options for Type 3 environmental declarations and programs shown in Figure 1. The common element is that each option is based on life cycle inventory analysis in accordance with the ISO 14040 series. In option A, the LCA integration include LCA study, including the phases of goal and scope definition, inventory analysis, impact assessment, and interpretation. Meanwhile, in option B, the integration of LCA only covers the phases of goal and scope definition, inventory analysis, and interpretation. Results from other environmental analysis tools shall be used where relevant. This additional environmental information is intended to ensure that all relevant environmental aspects of the product are covered in the Type 3 environmental declaration. It may or may not be derived from an LCA. It may relate to other issues associated with the product's overall environmental performance. These may include, for example, relevant environmental aspects related to sustainable development. How is an ISO 14025 different from other accreditations in the ISO series? It's because ISO 14025 is a combination of two previous ISO certifications, the ISO 14040 and the ISO 14020. Also, ISO 14025 is used in conjunction with ISO 14067 for environmental labels and declarations. And finally, ISO 14025 specifically establishes principles for the use of environmental information and is primarily intended for developing Type 3 environmental declarations. What are the benefits of an ISO 14025? Well, ISO 14025 encourages sustainable practices inside a company's operation. and serves as a constant source of motivation for new innovation. It also facilitates fair product comparison by providing buyers the opportunities for a fair comparison between different products with a life cycle perspective. ISO 14025 also stimulates environmental improvement and encourages continuous environmental improvement for the companies seeking or holding accreditation. Lastly, ISO 14025 help improve EPDs, which in turn enhance communication between various parties regarding the environmental impact of a single product and facilitates fair product comparisons. Let us take a look at a case study. A case study of the implementation of Type 3 Environmental Declaration and ISO 14025 is the PROPER program in Indonesia. The PROPER program is a local initiative aimed at promoting sustainable products and services in the Indonesian market. The program is based on the ISO 14025 standard, which provides a framework for developing Type 3 environmental declarations. Key strategies and outcomes of the PROPER program include relevance. The PROPER program is designed to address the specific environmental challenges faced by Indonesian companies, ensuring that the declarations are relevant to the local market. Second is trust and transparency. The PROPER program emphasizes transparency and trust by requiring independent third-party verification of the environmental declarations, ensuring that the claims are credible and reliable. Lastly is feasibility. The program provides practical guidelines and tools for companies to implement Type 3 environmental declarations, making the process as feasible as possible. The PROPER program has successfully implemented Type 3 environmental declaration in Indonesia, promoting sustainable products and services in the local market and providing a model for other countries to follow. Based on the assessment result in 2021, almost 10% of the participants in 2021 have been assessed as beyond the compliance category with a green and gold rating. Meanwhile, 70% of the participants were assessed as a compliance category with a blue rating. The study concludes that the numbers will go up by observing number of PROPER participants in 2022, illustrating an increase of awareness and acceptance of PROPER participants, including the industries or manufacturers in Indonesia. The program's success demonstrates the potential for Type 3 environmental declarations to drive sustainable consumption and production practices, as well as the importance of a well-structured framework for implementing these declarations effectively. Similar to other certifications in the ISO series, acquiring an ISO 14025 certification requires an extensive checklist to ensure a company will be accepted to be certified for an ISO 14025. First of all, the organization needs to identify the program that is appropriate for the product or service. Then, the general premise of the program or mission of the organization must be clearly stated when trying to get certified for an ISO 14025. This includes specifying the local of the organization's activities and which sectors are included in the business models. Next, companies determined to be certified for ISO 14025 must show their continuous commitment to the Type 3 environmental declarations. In order to successfully accomplish this, administrative employees of companies striving to obtain the certification should be prepared and trained to maintain and demonstrate the importance of these environmental declarations to other instructors. Next is to develop the EPD, followed by verifying the data used in the EPD by an independent third party, either internally or externally. Then, the verified data and EPD must be submitted to the program operator. After review and verification, the program operator will determine whether the organization can obtain the accreditation. The implementation of ISO 14025 is not always smooth sailing. Some challenges that may be faced are data quality. Ensuring the accuracy and reliability of data used in the Environmental Product Declaration is crucial for maintaining the credibility of the ISO 14025 accreditation. Next is resource intensity. The process of developing and maintaining an EPD can be resource intensive, requiring significant time and financial investment. And lastly, complexity. The ISO 14025 standard is complex and may require a deep understanding of LCA and environmental declaration procedures. The first opportunity is enhancing trade. ISO 14025, if implemented, can help enhance the trade for developing countries, which is able to accurately translate the mood of industrialized country consumers into environmentally friendly product development. Second is competitive advantage. Companies can differentiate themselves from competitors by showcasing their commitment to environmental responsibility and transparency. Next is increased product attractiveness. Products that have acquired an official certification presenting their environmental efforts can become more attractive to buyers, potentially leading to increased sales and market competitiveness. Lastly is brand reputation. By demonstrating the commitment to environmental responsibility and transparency in its product's environmental impact, a company can increase its brand reputation. The role of the public and community can also be relevant in promoting environmental labeling, such as by the demand for labeled products. Consumers can create a market for environmentally labeled products by demanding them from retailers and manufacturers. The community can also contribute by spreading awareness. The community can help spread awareness about environmental labeling programs by sharing information about them through social media, word of mouth, and other channels. Or, we can also participate in stakeholder involvement. The community can participate in stakeholder involvement by providing input during program formation, product category selection, and criteria development. And lastly, by supporting environmental labeling associations. The community can support these associations by becoming members, attending events, and also providing financial support. That is all for the video about ISO 14025. Thank you for watching.